Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pipeline Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron McClymans. I am joined by a very special guest, the one, the amazing, the wonderful, longtime Twitter mutual content creator, JP. How's it going, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's great to hear JP in English because I'm always called JP, which is like in Spanish. Of course, I'm from Chile, and as I was telling you before, I was really looking forward to participating here to get to be on a live stream of yours. I am also a content creator. Thank you for plugging my YouTube channel more actually than my Twitter because my Twitter is like me being completely random all the time and YouTube is like serious business. So
Serious.
glad to
Yeah.
be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, like we were talking about before we went live, like you had reached out like back in like 2023 and was like, hey, I'd love to be part of the show. And I was like, oh, always wanted to work with them. This is great. For whatever reason, I never reached out. And then when like you had reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, how could I have not have had them on the show sooner? So I'm very happy to have you on. I was looking back at like our DMs and I was like, we've actually like been talking for a very long time. Like it goes back all the way since
Yeah.
like 2020, I think, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Hello, hello. It's great to see you again. Hello. Yeah, no, I mean, man, this last like week and a half has been like one of the like craziest like internet culture weeks I've had while doing this show. Like we've had, obviously we're talking about it later, but the big Avengers Doomsday cast thing, which I've talked about quite a bit. There's been the
And that
Nintendo
wasn't
Direct.
even this week, and we're still talking
That was
about it.
last week. Yeah. Yeah, it was a little over a week ago. So that happened. We had the Nintendo Direct happened yesterday. We have CinemaCon that's been going on over the last couple of days, and it's still going on. I think up until tomorrow, either tonight or tomorrow.
There's supposed to be a Disney thing, and I believe in CinemaCon.
Disney's night, yeah. So it's like so much news to talk about from that event, and it's not even over yet. It's so crazy. It's so bonkers. But we're gonna be jumping right into today's episode. Since this is your first time on the show, we are going to do a fun little speed round to get us acquainted and ready for the episode. I like to start. Hello, Cameron. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. I like to start the first two. I always like to start with our the first time guest is obviously, what's your favorite movie of all time?
I'm not going to go with the superhero route
Okay,
because
okay,
it's gonna be I'm gonna say Indiana Jones, probably the
Indiana
third one.
Jones.
The
Okay,
Yeah, I'm a that's like the first couple of movies, like the trilogy,
yeah,
that I watched and I said this is cinema because everyone started memeing about that phrase
yeah,
because it's the first movies these are the first movies I really liked that they didn't have anything to do with superheroes. Like this is in
sure,
Batman, this is in Spider-Man, and I love it. It's Western mixed with James Bond. It's a whole new adventure genre. I
yeah,
love Uncharted, and there's a lot of stuff that came because of Indiana Jones. Harrison Ford is probably my favorite actor ever. I think
sure,
he's great when he's not bored of being Harrison Ford, basically. And probably the third one because that's the one where you get the most development out of the character. You
okay,
get like basically a mini Indiana Jones movie, like we got the Han Solo movie in the beginning, and you get a flashback when he was very young, and you get the resolution with the character arc with his dad, played by the great late Sean Connery. I think that's
mm,
probably the perfect ending of a trilogy. And then we got
sure,
other fourth and fifth movie, which are not that great, but hey,
sure,
those newer movies are the reason why the older ones got reruns in TV and got re-released, and I got them in Blu-ray or stuff like that. So someone who was born in the 2000s, like myself, got to
sure,
enjoy Indiana Jones because of the newer stuff rather than the older one. And I love the Lego
sure,
video game. I think that's probably my favorite, alongside with the Star Wars and the Batman one, the first ones.
sure. Yeah, I still need to like fully get caught up on that franchise, because I've seen the first two over and over, and it's one of those franchises that like I end up waiting so long in between watching them, I have to start over again. I'm like, no, I have to watch them from start to finish, and I never make it to that third movie. So that's on my like must watch list for like the last 10 years of my life, trying to make time to watch those. But were you a fan of the like new one that had come out? Because I know a lot of people were not very pleased with what they were doing
I
with
like what they did with the character of Indiana Jones. I
it.
think that was very interesting, especially regarding a real life situation with other
Mhm.
actors that could not return, other ones that actually did return. But I didn't think the MacGuffin or the story or the plot was probably the best way to go. But I'm
Sure,
happy with the how the character ended up, uh, if I can say
sure,
that.
very fair. And then on the other side of that, what's your favorite TV show of all time? I know we talked a lot more about TV and stuff like that, but like, do you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
favorite?
The cheating answer is saying the Arrowverse because that's not a TV
All of them,
show.
yeah.
And again, I didn't want it to go with superhero stuff,
Mhm.
so I think I'm gonna say Boy Meets World. And I'm
Ooh,
not sure if that answer may surprise you.
I,
I'm actually someone that watched Girl Meets World first, which is definitely not the way to
I did
watch
too. Yeah.
those shows. But again, as I was saying, which with Indiana Jones, if you maybe not be the biggest fan of the new stuff that they release,
Mm.
but that makes you go back to the original and check it
Yes.
out. And it's a great show. They really do not make sitcoms like that anymore. Like
Mm.
they go for 7 years without hesitation of cancellation or something like
Yeah.
that. I think the stories that they told in those shows really made me grow as a person, despite it
Mm.
kind of sounding cliche. I really watched them when I was like 18. I think I watched the
Mm.
full show, and it was great because I was finishing school. It was a great time to learn how to live. The episode where they get drunk is probably one of my favorite episodes in television history because it's very brave. It's very bold. It's
Mm.
like and it's still Disney. It's not Disney Channel. It's ABC when you have
Sure.
I don't know your Agents of Shield or stuff like that. But I think it was the perfect PG-13. It's not very hardcore like Euphoria or something like that. It's not very.
Hmm.
It's not that pinky cherry blossom and stuff. It's perfectly balanced as all things should be, like Thanos would say. And it's life. It's basically a show.
Yeah.
It's just about life. It's about normal people. It doesn't have a gimmick like they're wizards or someone can see the future or something like that.
Sure.
Despite I may like in a lot of the later Disney Channel shows, but I think it's a very normal, very normal as show, and it worked. It worked because it ran
Hmm.
for 7 seasons and it was great. And I think that would be my favorite show. At the very least, my favorite sitcom of all time. Yeah.
Sure. No, that's a great pick. That's a fan. Like I was in that same boat because like Girl Meets World came out at like kind of the right time where it's like, oh, I'm watching that and then realizing, oh, that's a technically a sequel series, a spin off of that show, and then being able to go back into that. And I think you're right. Like that's a show that is able to take themselves much more seriously than I think a lot of sitcoms want to go. Like obviously all sitcoms have like life lessons and stuff like that, but I feel like that one felt like it was very catered to helping teenagers and kids kind of grow up
Mm.
with them. And you're right, sitcoms and shows like that don't exist anymore, where it's like you can watch that in elementary school or middle school and you can travel with those characters into high school, into college, into married life, which is something you don't see a lot these days. So that's definitely a very fair point.
Yeah, especially with Disney Channel shows, the like where I mentioned, because when the characters are 18, they don't want to deal with everything
Mm,
that comes after because it will be maybe not that PG, so they cut
mm.
the thing in season 4, and
Sure.
they don't go for longer than that. So.
Yeah, I mean that's such a honestly, I think they were actually one of the first to really implement the like shorter television seasons versus longer. Like now everyone is doing
Mm.
that, but like they started it being like we don't want to pay contracts for more than a fourth season. We just geez, we just don't want to pay that. And I think maybe they almost paved the road for a lot of these other shows that will go
Mm.
max 5 seasons for most of their runs, and that's it. They're you're not getting your Flash, your Agents of Shield, your Boy Meets
Yeah.
World, your Brooklyn Nine Nines that have 6, 7, 8 seasons, unless they're still going from the era like a Grey's Anatomy or your
It's insane. I
Supernatural.
was binging with Jael, who's commenting and was here talking with you about Avengers. We were
Mm,
binging The Vampire Diaries, and we realized
mm,
it has the same number of episodes like Arrow and the same number of seasons. Like that
yeah,
is insane. Like the show comes out and it creates as a universe. The Vampire Diaries is a TV show
yeah.
trilogy. That just doesn't happen.
No, no, it's a rarity, and like unless it's already kind of attached to like a shared universe, like you have like the boys and like the MCU and stuff like that. But I feel like even then, that's like
Comic books is easier because they
yes,
do interconnect in the comic books. So yeah, I guess it makes
because it's
more sense story wise. So yeah.
sure. Did you go to the movie theaters a lot?
Not very
Okay.
often, but unfortunately because it kind of got expensive. But thankfully, here you get 2 free tickets if it's
Oh,
your birthday.
oh,
And it's
amazing.
only my birthday once a year, but I have friends who go with me, and we kind of try to
Alternate. Yeah.
do yeah we try to alternate and find little loopholes to go to the movie theater free. So, but actually, I haven't paid a lot of money, as you can see,
Mhm.
to go to the movie theater recently. But I have seen some of the recent
Okay,
releases
cool.
because often they do come out in digital very quickly, or you can watch them with a discount once they're not like the new release of the week. So
Sure,
yeah. Hmm.
sure. Do you have like a favorite like movie theater snack or no?
Oh, that's a no for me. Like
No. Okay.
unless I sneak something in, everything is like super expensive. So I'm not
You
really an
kind of
eating.
have to sneak stuff in nowadays. It is
Yeah, I remember
ridiculous.
when I had a drink, like I do if we're doing a live stream, I need like that
Yeah.
size of water, and I went to see Shang Chi, and the
Mm.
credits were made of water, and I need to go to the bathroom. I can't take it anymore.
It's ridiculous. Like I went a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what? I'll get a candy. I'll just like splurge to get one. It was like $8 for like one of those like $1 pack of candy things. It's like I'm not doing that again. That's ridiculous. It's
It's
crazy.
it's not worth it for starters.
No,
So yeah.
no, absolutely not. Obviously we're both big Arrowverse people. We love that franchise. Favorite Arrowverse character? Do you have like a favorite within that universe,
Ooh,
like a favorite
that
individual
that
character
that
or multiple
that's
maybe?
hard. That's hard. It's hilarious to sneak Arrowverse content everywhere.
Oh,
I once tweeted like, I got a job interview. Which Arrowverse quote should I use?
I mean, this whole show is called ThePipeline, and I kind of brought that
It's
from the Flash.
it's a great name. It's a great name. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you know what, like it's not an Arrowverse show, but I'm keeping a little bit of that with me, through all of this other stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Um,
I'm looking at my comic book shelf, and not currently, but I used to have every single Dreamer, Nia Nal comic book. Now they put her
there's a
in a
lot.
leather jacket, and they turn it into Rogue, and then she's everywhere. So I don't have
Yeah.
every comic now, but probably her because
Okay.
she means a lot. Like it's kind of like a Harley Quinn type of character, which is also one of my favorite characters ever. That she originally appeared in a TV show. She appeared in Supergirl for the first time, and not only that, but season 4, which I really can defend any day of
Season
the
4 is
week.
great. Yeah.
It's about discrimination, and with the aliens doing the allegory of immigrants or minorities, for example, trans people. And I think
Yeah.
everything that Nicole's represent with the character, which is like made around the actress, it's absolutely great. She's super powerful. She doesn't have uh, great explanation around her powers. Sometimes it can be a bit inconsistent. And sometimes she travels to a dream world, and next day she's stopping a wave. I guess it's cool. But I think it's a great character, and it represents a lot. When you're in Fortnite, you know you've made it. So that is saying that's saying a lot.
It's been
Probably her.
it's been really cool to see her journey from just like an original character that just existed there. But like, I mean, that alone was a huge accomplishment. The first live action trans superhero, and it being this like original character. And I'd argue one of the Arrowverse's biggest success stories is her, right? Like in 10 years, what is going to stand the test of time out of everything that has come from the universe? I think it might be her. Like she's in comic books, she's in Fortnite, and she's in all these different events with Batman and Superman. It's like, how cool! Like what a cool trajectory. And I'm waiting. Like I cannot wait for the day where she appears elsewhere. Like I would love if she appeared in like James Gunn's Superman or
I was
an
thinking
animated show or
about that.
something.
Like they were very smart to make her Superman slash Supergirl lore. So
Yeah.
that's quite popular now, or it always has been, and it always will be. So
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for that. I would be down for Nicole, of course, reprising the role. I think she would be a great fit in animation. Honestly,
I agree.
if you ask me, he doing the voice would make a lot of sense. But I'm happy that the character has grown, and it's bigger than even
Hmm.
her. Like
Sure.
I wouldn't be mad at all if in a couple of years someone else who's probably also trans, that would be great, of course, plays the character. It's not Nicole
Hmm.
Maines, but the Dreamer lives on. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's probably like the biggest test if she can live on her own. Because Nicole Main's obviously a legend. I absolutely adore her. She's a fantastic actress. But like it would be very cool to see like, okay, what are these other takes on Dreamer? I think that is when you become a legendary character like a Harley Quinn has over these last 20 or so 30 years of like, okay, she was in Batman the animated series. That's great. That's amazing. But what about the movies? What about the other TV shows and the comic books and how they expand that character? And same thing with like Phil Coulson and stuff like that. All these other
yeah, yeah.
original characters. So
It just proves it's a testament of time. Like Harley Quinn appeared in a random episode of Batman. They didn't even tell her story later on, and
mm,
she had a TV show that survived so many cancellations of DC shows. It was in DC Universe, but no one had that, and no one watched it. I remember trying to illegally download the show and having to wait a long time for finally watching it. I think it's over. I am not sure if it's officially over, the Harley Quinn show I'm talking about,
mm,
but it had a spin-off with Kiteman.
it did.
Who does that? Like it's a character that no one cares about. That it proves that I wasn't the only one watching the show. It
Mm,
was a hit. It was a hit.
it was. Yeah, I think what they just had their fifth season, right?
Yes, it just
Ye-
ended, and it ended in a way like you could say it's the final episode, and it would be okay.
mm. I think they have one more season at least because what they've done is they make two seasons at a time. So they did one and
Oh,
two, three and four, and I assume five and six together. It's after that I'll be curious if they can continue on.
mhm.
Because six runs, that's a great run for like again like you said DC Universe
Yeah,
show
a
that cancels all their
spin-off,
stuff. Yeah,
a spin-off, adjacent comic books from 2019 to 2025. That is saying a
crazy.
lot.
Crazy, absolutely. But yeah, we're gonna hop into some of these news stories here, and again, it's been a crazy week. It's been nuts. There's been a new thing every like 30 minutes. But we're gonna be hopping into our first story here. Coyote versus Acne. Coyote versus Acne officially saved by Ketchup Entertainment for $50 million. Now, this is a very ongoing story we've been covering over the last year and a
Yeah.
half
Mhm.
from it being canceled to them like, oh, we're actually going to let people buy it, to them being like, never mind, to just a couple weeks ago it being up and like, okay, we might be able to sell this. We might be letting them, to officially it being officially sold. Have you been following the story at all? Have you seen this whole journey?
Yeah, my favorite tweet about this is the Snyderverse is gonna be released by Mustard Entertainment, which is like the best thing I read all week. But I'm tremendously happy. It wasn't a movie that I was dying to see,
Mm,
of course,
sure.
but I'm happy because it's ready. Like you can cancel something if it's not working maybe behind the scenes. I get it. It's studio, it's money. They're not evil. They just want our money.
Yeah.
We can feel evil, but canceling some done product, it
Hmm.
just it that is evil. That is
Yeah.
so disrespectful to the actors and the filmmakers and the cast and crew and everyone. So I'm very happy that someone, this honestly random company, decided to pay whatever some what was it, $50 million or something like
2 million.
that.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the box office because they're not going to advertise. They had the money to
Yeah.
buy, but not to promote, maybe. And Warner doesn't care. Like they, I think Mustard did the also the Porky and Daffy Duck movie that's
Hmm.
currently in theaters, and a
Yep.
Hellboy movie that came out last year. Surprisingly, those did came out in cinemas here in Chile. The Looney Tunes one I think is coming up next week if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I guess we need to check that out because otherwise this is really not going to be worth it. And I'm happy mainly because of the animation, because it's something that I really love in general, and maybe
Yeah.
you do too.
I do. Yeah. No. Absolutely. It's again. It's been such a frustrating story. Like especially when it came out that like David Zaslav didn't even watch it. Hadn't seen a single second of it. He's just like write it off, whatever. And it's just like that. Like movies like this have the potential to be cult classic for people. Who's like if you look back at like a Space Jam or a Looney Tunes Back in Action, those are classic now. Like those are fan favorites, some people's favorite movies of all time. Um, and this is such like a fun concept, like Wild Coyote having to take them to court, and like that's so much fun. Like you have John Cena attached to it, not a small name at all, and just like this mentality that we've been having these last couple of years of like, well, we wanted money, we don't trust it's going to do well, tax write it off. Just like just put it out there, not caring about the people who wrote it, who directed it, who filmed in the movie, who put their heart and soul into it. So I think any story like this, when these getting out, like these like tax write off projects getting out, this was a success story. The other one they did, the like Steve Urkel Christmas special, and like all those things that had come out via this tax write off since then is such a success. Um, I agree with you though. I am worried about the box office. I am worried about can they market it properly? Because I could see this being very successful. I could. I think this could be a big thing if they push it. It doesn't have like a massive budget, so they could make it back. Um,
But as I was saying, I love animation, but I don't think they do. They Warner Bros. Because
they
they
don't care.
would have to market it. The Ketchup's not gonna market themselves.
They don't have the money
And
to. Yeah.
here in Latin America, we do have the same max as Mexico and Brazil. But I think in the US and Canada, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they are like the Looney Tunes are kind of disappearing, like they were
They're
snapped
gone.
by Thanos, so that's not very good.
And it's so strange because like literally this week at CinemaCon, they announced they're going to be doing new Looney Tunes animated movies. I was like, cool. Why didn't you care about the other ones? What was so wrong with those ones? And now you're going to make new ones.
It's so weird because it's them. Like if Disney is starting to delete Mickey Mouse stuff from Disney Plus,
Yeah,
but that's yours.
that's
Where
your
is it
brand.
gonna go?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. This is the foundation of your company. When someone thinks about Warner Bros, thinks about Bugs Bunny coming out of the logo and biting
Yeah.
the, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. No, 100%. It's strange. I do just hope that all the people that have been campaigning for the last 2 years go watch it. Right. I think it's a big part of internet culture is like we say we want things, we say we're going to do things, sometimes we don't do it. So I hope people support it. I hope they can market it properly. Hopefully it can be a success of some kind.
Yeah.
Alrighty, our next news story here. This was a huge one. Spider-Man. huge week for Sony. Obviously, we're
Oh
going to
yeah.
talk about some more CinemaCon stuff in a second here, but I wanted to put a real focus on the Spider-Man stuff. So, updates on Beyond the Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 4 were given at CinemaCon. So, Beyond the Spider-Verse has been a topic we've talked about quite a bit. I kept saying, guys, we're not seeing this movie anytime soon. It's going to be a very long time. It's not going to be next year because we have Spider-Man 4 next year. It's at least going to be 2027 or 2028. And we do have an official announcement that it will be 2027 of June. I think June 4th of
June
2027.
4th.
Are you excited for this movie? Is this one you're
Yeah,
really hyped for?
yeah, absolutely. I mentioned before I tend to save some money and don't expend everything in the theater. But the last big cinema experience that I have, because I went with my parents, they don't usually go to the movie theater, especially
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic. We went to see Across the Spider Verse, and it was the theater was packed. Everyone clapped. It was great. It's one of the best comic book movies in general, not only Spider-Man movies. And I think that everyone was super hyped about the sequel, which was originally supposed to release in like next year, like 2024. I think it was March or something like that, which was completely crazy. Like they said in this news outlet they were testing new animations for the new release. Like I just hope that's no code for we're crunching our employees to finish in time, because that was definitely a topic. But I love this franchise and love what Spider-Man, specifically Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy, which are our main characters
Yeah.
in these movies, represent. And they just look at other examples, everything that they did before with the Lego movies, everything they did after with Mitchell's versus the Machine, which is a movie I really like as well, and even stuff that's not from Lord and Miller, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant
Yeah.
Mayhem, which definitely very inspired by the success of Spider Verse. I'm very hyped to see what comes next. Would be like mostly the final chapter for these main stories, but it will be so successful and it wouldn't really make sense to continue it and like I know maybe spin off of some sort because I
Sure.
really enjoy this character and the story that they told with them. So I'm super bummed.
I agree. Yeah, like I have some friends that are like, man, I don't think I'll really care by that point. It'll be too long. And like those first two movies, I think, are some of the best movies I've ever seen. Like I think they are the epitome of not only animated movies but just cinema in general. And if this comes out and it's just as good as those first two, I think it'll be arguably the best trilogy of all time, or at least up there with one of the best of all time. So I'm okay with them taking as long as they want, especially with so much movies coming out each year, so much TV shows coming out every year. There's so much to watch. There's so much to enjoy. Um, I do think the date's kind of interesting too, as well, because this will come out after Secret Wars. So that's going to be interesting. Secret Wars is all about like resetting some things, doing stuff with the multiverse. It is confirmed they are all part of the same multiverse now. So that's going to be like continuity wise, I'm going to be very curious about like how do they keep that in check? How do they keep the continuity between the two different kinds of multiverse within the story? Will they not think about that much? Possibly, very possible. So that's going to be interesting for sure.
It depends. Like I was, I guess we can talk about Spider-Man. Well, brand new day. We can call
Yeah.
it that. It has an official title, which makes me very happy. I don't know. Watching Daredevil Born Again and seeing like th- that police captain should be Captain Stacy, and that detective should be Yuri Watanabe. It feels like it's such a fight between Disney and Sony all the time. It's a 2 second scene, but the Prowler, Donald Glover appearing live action as the Prowler
Mm-hmm.
in Across the Spider Verse, it's very intriguing. I don't know what
Yeah.
are they going to do. Will we see animated characters in a live action movie? We've already seen live action characters in an animated movie,
Yeah.
as I just mentioned, and we have two Spider Man movies. these two coming out between Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I'm not sure what they're going to do, but I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, because like I wasn't certain about it, but like I had just thrown around the idea in just a conversation, like, hey, what if these characters show up in Secret Wars? Like what if they're like animated versions of them pop up like mid battle, they swing a couple things, they fight a couple people, and then they go off screen, whatever, right? Like that, I always thought that was at least the potential for that, and I'm not saying you couldn't, right? But with this being after, it's like that would be a little slightly harder, just like continuity wise. I'm curious though, like also it's just like it's gonna be so crazy, like in May, to be like, okay, Secret Wars, this is the end of the era, and then the month later to be like Spider Verse, like prepare for that like cinema experience is going to be very interesting. Um, but yeah, I mean, Spider Man, Brand New Day was also officially announced this week. The official, I mean, we knew it was happening. We knew that they were going to start filming soon, all this fun stuff. But we have the official title. What's your thoughts on this title? Do you like this title? Do you have any theories on kind of what this can mean, stuff like that?
Yes, I just mentioned Daredevil Born Again, but Daredevil season 3, it is actually Daredevil Born Again. Just like Spider-Man Homecoming, this is one
Mm,
of those titles which
sure.
makes more sense in real life context rather than the movie context. It's kind of sad that No Way Home came out in 2021, so I always feel like we're skipping Peter's in college very
Mm,
quickly, timeline wise, unless we go back a little bit. But a fresh new start, a brand new day, new villains, something more grounded, which was basically what people was asking. My
mm,
friend Inyo was talking about the comic book, because obviously Civil War is not the same as the comic and the movie, but always when you use very specific comic book titles,
mm,
people who read comics start to get ideas. And this comic, I believe, introduces some characters that we've seen popular in the video games, like Mr. Negative, like
yeah.
Screwball and stuff like that. So I'm very happy that we're getting a bunch of Spider-Man stuff and not really the multiverse, and everything is a mess because of Avengers. And Spider-Man is also there.
Yeah. I I do hope it's more grounded. I'm curious with it taking place in between Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'm honestly hoping for a Ant-Man and the Wasp situation where it's more of a prequel and we end the movie with him being like, "Hey, what's that? What's going on up there?" kind of thing, and then it ties him in. Just like, "Oh, let me go, join them," and then he merges in Secret Wars instead. Like, I would.
Not sure if it's a hot take, but I kind of don't want that because it was I do like Ant-Man and the Wasp, and also I do like Captain Marvel, but
Uh,
I did maybe wanted to see the aftermath of before everything
sure.
that happened in Endgame. I don't know. It is weird. I really love Miss Marvel as a character. I do have some of her comic books right
Hmm.
here, and it does happen in the comic books because we are adapting sort of the Secret Wars from 2015, 2016, and it's like coming of age story, issue of Miss Marvel, then Secret Wars, end of the multiverse, and the next issue is like everything's back to normal.
Everything's
It's
fine.
funny
Yeah.
when you try to when you try to like make everything make sense when you have different writers and different productions and stuff like that. So let's see. But it will be
Yeah.
very interesting to see Spider-Man movie
Yeah.
between the two Avengers stories.
For sure. Yeah. And again, like if it is going to be during, how are they going to balance that? Like, can you balance a grounded Spider-Man story and a multiverse story, which is what it would kind of have to be if it is in between? I feel like I've kind of pitched the idea of it being like, okay, like the world's kind of falling apart, it's multiverse, things are happening, but he has to focus on the grounded stuff. Like he is like, no, the Avengers got this. I have to save this bank of people or something, or like like all these people in the city need my help, and I got to focus on them, which I think could also be cool if that's the direction they want to go. You mentioned Mr. Negative, and I think he is my pitch for the Spider-Man 4 villain. I think that actually might be like the perfect balance of like not a multiverse villain, not super high stakes, but also not low stakes either, right? Like people, like I don't know how you could go to like a Scorpion or like a Chameleon. Like those villains might feel a little too low stakes comparatively what he's had to deal with in the last, especially the last movie. You know what I mean? So I think Mr. Negative might be that perfect balance of very powerful, but also not too high stakes in terms of like world-ending threats and stuff like that. So, yeah, I'm very curious about this. I'm excited to slowly learn more about it as we get more information.
Yeah, I'm happy that we have the title and we can speculate in regards on that.
Yes.
Because making theories only based of Sadie Sink's hair color is kind of silly. Poor girl. I think she's an fantastic actress, but I really don't want her reduced to, oh, she should play Mary Jane because she's a redhead. Like, no,
It's
that doesn't make any sense.
I've seen this title. Like I've seen this title like help theories on that though too as well. Like, oh, it's called Brand New World. It must mean because they're bringing in Mayday. Here's this daughter from the future. I was like, oh no, we're doubling down on this. This is crazy. But I will say I also just really like the font and like its color scheme as well
Yeah.
here. Like it feels very classic, like 2000 Spider-Man. Which
Comic
is
booky. I
exciting.
think Ultimate Spider-Man the show had this font, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, there's that.
It's very fun. Okay, lastly here, and then we'll move on to our main topic. And this isn't really a topic. This is just kind of like a general like what's been your favorite. CinemaCon happened this week, and I mean Sony and Paramount and Warner Brothers and everyone at this point besides Disney has kind of had their panels this week. And thus far into the week, and I don't know how much you've been kind of paying attention to everything or whatever, but do you have favorite announcements that have happened this week? Anything that's really kind of stuck out to you so far?
Thankfully, we have some visual guide, so you'll have the stream very 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 organized, and I can wrap my head around this. I surprisingly I think I have a least favorite announcement, which is something that only happens internationally, which is the Karate Kid Legends, the new movie coming out.
Oh, interesting.
It will premiere on May 3rd on the US, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's May 30th actually here.
May 30th. Sorry,
yes.
Yeah. I'm getting confused because in Latin America, it's coming out May 8th.
Ah, so you get it early.
But my buddies at Spain, they get it like August 8th. I'm not kidding.
Oh,
so that's
August.
Probably that's probably my least favorite announcement. The complete mess of our release date this movie has.
Sure. Oh, holy shit. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, are you excited for the movie itself? Like, is it one that you're excited for?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I always joke around with my favorite niche fandoms. Like, when the first trailer came out, I said, this trailer has someone from the Miss Marvel TV show and someone from Disney Channel. I'm sold. That's the only thing I obviously care about. I think that the cast is great. It's Sony, which is hilarious. Jackie Chan could have appeared from a portal, and it could be this could have been a multiverse movie if they really wanted to. But coming out of the amazing and sometimes over the top, ridiculous Power Ranger stuff, which I love, which was the Cobra Kai TV show that was massively successful and make everyone subscribe to Netflix once again. I am very excited for this movie. I think both of the trailers have looked very good. We are going back to basics, which I'm going to be very hard on this movie in that regard, because I don't know, maybe with the female characters, like we just had Sam and Tori had like this rivalry that turned into a friendship, and it was great. It was great, and I'm not sure if I only want Melinda May Mulan to be the mom because she's a woman.
I know. That's I was so shocked when like she showed up in the trailer because like, we had covered that announcement like last year, and I was like, it makes so much sense. She can fight. It makes sense. She's in this franchise now. And then when she showed up as like the mom, I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. And then I'm like, wait, I hope she can still fight a little bit. Like maybe Jackie Chan trains her too or something, or like a down the line. I don't know. Like
I don't know. I think the Jackie Chan was in the Mulan movie, right? Am I crazy?
wait, what?
I think did Jackie Chan do a voice in Mulan, or he sung? I think it was
Was
in
he?
Chinese only. I think in only Chinese,
Oh,
maybe.
gotcha.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I love female characters because they do give me a different perspective of life, and you can get very interesting social commentary about that. But I don't know. That girl is so brave. Like you have to be so brave to say yes to playing Kim Possible in live action, which is an it's an impossible task. And she did it. And the movie was not great, but it wasn't her fault. So I don't
Sure.
really want her reduced to, oh, she's the girlfriend because she's a
Mm,
woman. Like I
sure.
think she can probably fight, and I want some cool fight scenes out of everyone. So I'm very
Hmm.
excited about this movie, as I said, but I'm going to be very very picky if
Sure.
necessary.
Sure. Like it's very interesting going so small scale after like the world tournament, like the greatest fighters in the world, and like the insanity that was like the Kreese and Silver stuff. Which is kind of why I'm a little excited for this because I actually do like going back to a little bit smaller scale, something more intimate, something that looks a little bit more serious, even for Cobra Kai or like the Karate Kid universe, because I love Karate Kid. I love it so much. I have
Yeah,
like a poster of it like right behind me here. But
I
it's
can
a
see
very
it.
silly franchise. It's silly. It's cheesy. That's great. I love it. But I'm also curious, what does a slightly more serious Karate Kid movie look like? Like what can that offer? So I'm excited about that. Let me just like speed run a couple of things here, just because there was some
Okay.
crazy stuff. Five Nights at Freddy's had a new trailer this week as well. I'm not a huge fan of the games or anything. Like I saw the first movie,
Me
I thought it was
neither. Yael is it's this thing that comes to life because of fanfic. It's just some game you can look at some
sure.
screens. You're a security guard, but there is no lore without the fans. This is I think it's gonna be good because I did watch the first one in theaters with a friend that is super fan, and I was pleasantly surprised.
It's
I would
fun.
have
Yeah.
preferred maybe something more not darker, but you can tell the PG rating because they really
Yep.
wanted that kids box office. But I thought it was a pretty decent movie. Like it was
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like this one might be a little scarier than the last one. So I'm
oh,
hoping fans of the game are um, pleased with that. How to Train Your Dragon had a pretty big announcement yesterday as well. Obviously, they had early screenings of the movie, which very early for a screening. Here, it premiered there for like the audience there. It doesn't come out until end of June. So it's like they
mm.
premiered very early. But they also announced a sequel to go along with it months before it comes out. Now, while I'm not shocked by that, I definitely think it's very ballsy. I think it's making you want to be like, hey, this is important. Like, hey, this is a thing. We're not going anywhere. They tease when they announce it that they want to do like the entire trilogy. So I'm not shocked at that at all. Is that a movie that you're excited for at all?
Yes, I think it's a very interesting conversation because this movie, well, like, what year did the original came out? 2010, 2012,
2010, I think.
around
Yeah,
that. Yeah. I think they're great movies on their own, and they're not that old. You don't have to make a live action remake of that.
sure.
Not because they are recent-ish movies, but because they are already good and they're great
Fantastic.
animated
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah.
They're animated movies, and I think it's like they don't trust the animation to stand the test of time,
Mm,
which is crazy
yeah.
because we just had a Snow White movie, which is the definition of an animation that had aged very very well.
Yeah.
This is more in line with the original animated movie that I also very much. I have a lot of memories about Lilo and Stitch, which is
Yeah.
also coming out this.
Yeah.
I think it's coming out in my birthday, which is May 22nd, 23rd.
Oh wow.
My, my,
Yeah.
my, my birthday is May 22nd, so I guess I have my free movie right there. But yes, it's like we do really want to sell you this dragon merch, this Stitch merch.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be good movies, the new ones. I
Hmm.
mean, but there's no way they're very different from the original. I think they're gonna play it super safe.
It's very safe. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like again, like that was I really hated when it had come out and they said that they barely changed the script for the movie. And I was like, I just don't like that. Like to me that's so anti-art, that's so lazy when it comes to making a movie. But I was very surprised when yesterday everyone like came out that screening and said, "Hey, that was amazing. That was like it like rivals the original movie." I was like, "Holy shit." Like to me that original movie is like a masterpiece. Like to say that it's rivaling and it's
Mm.
taking things on it and expanding it, that's exciting to me. That's something that for the first time in a while I'm actually kind of excited for it now. I was like, "Okay, you have my attention. Let's see what you have to offer. Let's see if you can do anything
Yeah.
with that." Um, uh,
And
yeah,
I
I
think
mean, I
that's
feel.
great because
Oh,
it was difficult. It was a difficult thing to do, right? I just talked about Snow White, which I
mhm,
really like the new movie,
mhm,
surprisingly enough, because it was different. It did feel like it was a speed run to check all the main
but
points that made
yeah,
the original memorable, but they
mm,
changed stuff for the better,
they
like
changed
in
a lot. Yeah,
some social commentary that I always like. She's a real character. She's driven by the spoilers by what happened with her family.
yeah,
And I think Rachel Zegler is great. She's a great actor. She's a great singer, and I think she's a very force to be reckoned in general, and especially in that movie. They made her a three-dimensional character with the original Snow White. It wasn't. I would be
yeah,
surprised if a kid came and said Snow White is my favorite Disney princess. Maybe if you're talking about Rachel Zegler, I would believe you, but
yeah.
not as much if we talk
Not the
about the
original.
original.
No,
Yeah,
no, 100%.
it's
Yeah,
just not that deep. Like the meme, it's not that deep. It's literally not that deep.
yeah. No, like she's like Snow White was the definition of a movie that like should have been rebooted. Like that's a very valid movie to reboot.
It's the
88 years
blueprint.
old.
It's the blueprint
Yeah.
for the Disney princess, but it doesn't go beyond that for me,
Hmm.
please.
I agree. Yeah, for sure. Last thing I just want to cover from like the list in Macon, and obviously there's so many other things I could mention, but
Mm-hmm.
John Wick was officially announced for a fifth movie. Now, I haven't seen past the second John Wick movie, but I feel like the conversation around John Wick we've talked about quite a bit on the show. Um, I mean, are you a fan of those movies? Like, are you?
I have seen only one more movie than you. I
Okay,
saw the
you've seen
third
three.
one.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have not seen the fourth one. And I think they are very well directed action movies because
Hmm.
the guy who does the the action is also the guy who does the directing, which is Chad Stahelski, which he was the stuntman for Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, if I'm not mistaken. So that says a lot. But I couldn't really get into the
Mm,
plot on the characters.
sure.
It feels more like a video game movie where you go and you kill a bunch of guys in very creative ways.
Yeah, action is great.
And they are good movies. Maybe I'm the crazy one here, but they're not very much for me. However, I do want to see Ballerina because Ana de Armas is great
Valorant looks good.
in
Yeah.
everything that she does. And I think they announced like an anime of John Wick or something like that, which
They
I am
announced
very intrigued about. Yeah.
yeah, like in this they announced like three separate projects. So it was like John Wick, another spin-off movie, and then like yeah, like a prequel anime. And like I was sitting here wondering, it's like is John Wick becoming like your next big franchise? Like, is it becoming too much John Wick to handle? You know, as someone very casually, it's like, wow, that feels like, you know, there's already been 4 movies, like a spin-off series. We have the like ballerina show coming up next, and it's like we're I mean, we're approaching 10 projects in like the John Wick universe, which is
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't think that was the original idea, but
No.
maybe it was successful. Maybe too successful.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this one, but I believe the original one has like a $20 million budget, which is nothing for today's standards, and it was a very big hit. Maybe it's this generation's Die Hard. When the first one is like very grounded and it changes the action genre forever,
Sure.
and then it becomes more of the
Fast
same
and the
because
Furious. Yeah.
everyone tried to copy it.
Sure. I would agree with that. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I plan to get caught up here soon because I do want to watch Ballerina when it comes out. Because I think that does look like a really good movie. Like, I'm very excited to kind of see what they do with that. Again, I'm not mad about it. Like, I'm very curious to kind of see like
we may not be the biggest fans, but go ahead. People are enjoying. People are. It's maybe the conversation that we could have with James Bond. Like the Ana de Armas spin-off could have been her James Bond character. Which because she was in that movie for like 5 minutes, but she definitely left an impression. And
Sure.
there was a lot of controversy about making spin-off of James Bond, and they taking a lot of time for the new one to come out. They don't really know what to do. Amazon bought them, so we'll see.
That's going to be an interesting conversation for sure. But yeah, we're going to be hopping into this tier list, and hopefully this won't take too long. I feel like a lot of these are going to be kind of pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to change my screen here really quickly, so just give me like 15 seconds to switch over here. So I'm going to share my tier list. I made a tier list of what I think are most of the like big players that we did not get announcements for the Avengers Doomsday cast announcement. While I'm setting this up, what was your opinion on the whole, like, how they did the cast announcement? Because it's something that they've never done before in anything. Like, this is something completely new.
I think because it was new, because they knew people were going to be hype about it. Everyone in social media always says, the MCU is not that interesting like it used to be. Everyone was watching a 5-hour live stream of just a bunch of chairs with names on it. Like they prove they can they can put on a show still. So I think it was great. I did watch every now and then, and especially the X-Men characters were the ones that surprised me the most. Not really the actors, but the music, because they used the Newton's brother. It was X-Men '97 specifically. It wasn't the movie soundtrack. It wasn't the score for the original TV show. We listened to it in Multiverse of Madness. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. They waited so much to show Pedro Pascal and Robert Downey Jr., which were like the most obvious characters to show up in this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, but I'm happy about the inclusions we have. It does show a lot of female power that has become a theme certainly in this live stream, because I very much like female characters I've already mentioned. But only having Mystique on the X-Men, it's weird. It's weird because the X-Men are so popular, right? Especially the girls.
It is, yeah. And just you saying that, I just realized, like, oh, I completely forgot to put like Jean on this list and stuff like that. So I mean, I guess we could just talk about that first, just like really quickly. I was wondering if they're gonna maybe they kill off a couple characters, right? Like maybe Jean is dead in this continuity, which is kind of like Scott's journey. He's like, oh, my Jean died, and you know, same with like maybe like a Rogue. It's like Gambit's like struggling through, you know, Rogue or whatever. But it's like, where's Storm? Like, I really wish we could have got a Storm in here.
Yeah, it's it would be very weird to have Cyclops without Jean, without
Sure.
any explanation. And the success of Gambit, played by Channing Tatum in Deadpool and Wolverine, and wasting the time to have Anna Paquin as Rogue. Come on,
Hmm.
she won an Oscar when she was like 11
Yeah.
years old. Like, give the girl a chance.
I do know she's like currently like sick. Like she's struggling from a like an illness at the moment, which is
Oh,
maybe why they couldn't get her back, unfortunately. But you're right. Like it's like we couldn't get Rogue, Storm, or Jean. Like I wonder, maybe they're saving them for Secret War. I don't know.
yeah,
It's definitely
and
a good question.
yeah, and as I
Um.
said, we have X-Men '97. Like, they will be the live action actors that we know and love,
Yeah.
but they are going to look exactly like I. You can quote me on this one. They are gonna look like X-Men '97 because
I
we
agree.
already have that in the
Yeah.
Marvels, in Doctor Strange, because that's what everyone likes about the X-Men '97. No
They're
one
giving them
disliked those
those
shows.
yellow
Yeah,
spandex suits.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
cannot
It
wait.
makes so much sense.
All right, we're gonna go through these one by one, and we're gonna place them on characters that we absolutely need to be in this movie. That would be S, and then D would be like, I don't really want them here, or really, not necessarily that we don't like them, but maybe not in this movie, kind of thing. And then everywhere in between, we have A, B, and C as well. Okay, so the first two, we have Chris Evans and Haley Atwell, as someone, I guess. Is it Chris
Yes.
Evans? Is it Hydra Cap? Is it these are actors that were rumored to be involved in the project all the way early
Yeah,
middle of last year, I think.
I believe. Yeah.
Um, you think they're going to be in this movie?
Mm, I'm not sure. I think yes, because they probably have more of a free schedule when it comes to Marvel stuff. Like, they
Mm.
do seem very like Chris Evans always laughing like in that pic. Well, it does feel like they are very friendly with Kevin Feige or stuff like that. So I would, with everything that they did with Captain Carter in What If, whether you love or hate that, I think they are going to be in.
Hmm.
I don't know if Doomsday, but Secret Wars definitely. They have to show up
Sure.
at least once. Oh yeah.
I feel like just because like this is like who we won, not necessarily like what we think or whatever. I don't necessarily want Chris Evans back in very similar way. I don't really want Downey back personally. You know what I mean? Like I would prefer if it was like the newest cast of characters.
Yeah.
But
The thing about Downey being back is like it's because he's famous and you know the guy from Marvel movies.
yeah,
It's not because it makes sense for the story. That's the only
yeah.
issue with it, in my opinion.
Like I feel like I'm almost more excited for Haley Atwell to come back into fray than like Chris Evans in a really weird way. Um, where would you put this on just like like them being in this movie
Mm,
and like your excitement if they were?
I am honestly not going to put them very high
I agree.
right now. I think we can rearrange stuff at the end if we really
Yeah,
want to, but B would be like solid for me. Like a B, like, oh, it makes sense. He's here. I like these actors. I like these characters, but it's not something like would make me buy a ticket or blow my mind or anything like that. So
sure.
more of a mid tier, if you ask me.
I agree. Yeah, like I would have been really excited if he would have shown up as Human Torch because that's something I wanted for years. And we already did it though, right? So like if
Yeah.
they did it now, I'd be like, well, I don't care now. They already did it. It was awesome. So yeah, that's that. Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, which I'll be honest, I think this was one of the biggest like surprises out of the event that he was not announced. He's been in every Avengers movie. He's one of the currently running Avengers, if you will, that's currently active. No announcement.
Yeah, I think that would be definitely higher for me at least.
I agree.
Maybe an A, not an S, but definitely an
Sure.
A, because he's there. Like he could have been the first chair. He's the same as Chris Hemsworth, a Thor. Like it's super like very iconic character, whether you love or hate the development that they had. they have been in so many movies, and they are very, very much beloved by fans. So it would be weird to have a movie where the Hulk can be the smart guy once again, or can get into a fist fight once again. I do really want Hulk back because he deserves the spotlight. The spotlight.
I agree. Yeah, like and especially like in Shang-Chi, like it seemed like he was like one of like the main members with Captain Marvel and stuff like that of like still active, still operating. I was really excited to see the dynamic between Hulk and Thor again as like the OG Avengers kind of still doing this, maybe not necessarily leading the Avengers because I think that's going to be Sam, but still being like those OG figures within the group. So I definitely very much want Hulk to be in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okoye. So we have Shuri announced, we have Mbaku announced, but Okoye is still not
Yeah.
announced. I mean, I'll say this up front, like just to give my opinion, just like up front. I love Okoye. I think she's great. She's a fantastic actress. But I wouldn't be upset if she's not in Avengers, if you know what I mean. Like, it'd be great if she is, but like if she's not, I'm not gonna be like, where's Okoye? She needs to be here, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
I do agree in that regard, but the Endgame poster that is right behind me,
Mm.
I remember when they first released the poster, and they forgot to put Danai Gurira's name in it.
Aww,
I'm not kidding. It is true.
that
You
sucks.
can look that up. So it would break my heart to put her below B. I think she's
Okay,
an absolutely great character, and you maybe you can justify Naki and Lupita Nyong'o to be off doing anything else because they already did that with her character in regards to Wakanda Forever and the Avengers movie. But I think Okoye, it's, despite you taking away the military aspect of the character, I very much still like her. And you
mm-hmm.
have Shuri, you have Mbaku, you have
Sure,
Namor, like you have the bad guy from the movie, but you don't have one of the
sure.
main heroes. The Black Panther cast is so strong in general. It would be weird to
They
have
are.
them and not her, in my opinion.
Sure. I'm okay with an A if you're feeling A. If that's
Yeah,
what you're
sure.
vibing with. Okay. Yeah, like again, like I would be totally okay if she's there. Like I'm not like, oh, why is she like yeah, she's fantastic. I mean, and you're right, like most of the cast of Black Panthers is there already, so may as well throw her in there. Star-Lord. Now, a lot of people thought they were going to announce Star-Lord last week. They thought, they teased his return. They teased that he would be back eventually. The only Guardians I kind of put on this like tier list here because I just felt like he's the most likely. Uh, do you want him to come back?
Mm, I think I don't really want him in this movie, and I do
Okay.
want him in Secret Wars because
Okay.
I kind of want to give the character a rest, and that is going to be true in regards to the characters that are coming up. My reasoning, thankfully, may not be very weird for you, but I want to save him from later on, if that makes any
Sure.
sense. Like that title, despite James Gunn doing Superman right now and being full DC guy, the legendary Star Lord will return does not feel like he will be a random guy in Doomsday. No, it feels like he
Sure.
will have his own movie or spin off of some sort. So
Sure.
I wouldn't put him very high. I don't know how you feeling.
Yeah, I'm curious because like obviously we saw those like leaks that had come out, whatever, and they have debunked those leaks, and which is yeah, totally valid. But what I did find interesting about those leaks is that he was hanging out with the Young Avengers. And I don't know, for like some reason I kind of vibed with that idea because like he's kind of a child by himself, like he is kind of like a kid at heart, especially someone who didn't like have parents. And not saying he's like part of the team or anything like that, but like I kind of
No,
did
it is
hate.
like This is gonna be silly because I have not seen Skeleton Crew, but it's gonna be like that show probably.
Yes, absolutely. It's just like he's just kind of like involved, like he's just kind of like overseeing them in some kind of ways. I kind of agree with you. I don't need him in Doomsday though. Like I'm okay if he is, but like
Yeah.
I would like a presentation. I think that'd be really cool for him.
Yeah, it does fit the guy.
I think I'm feeling B as well. I'm thinking
Yeah,
around the
yeah.
B for me.
We're not ranking in base of I like this character, I dislike this. We're
Yes.
just yeah.
Who we think should be in the cast. Daredevil. Okay, so this is a big one. I mean, like, listen, like, it would be a dream to have, like, Charlie Cox in, like, an Avengers project, for sure. It would be... Do you think Doomsday is the right time, though, or do you think they should wait?
The story just, I don't think it calls for a vigilance,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like, if you have the bad guy, you can have the good guy. Like, you can have Kingpin show up in Hawkeye and he showed up in Spider-Man in the same week. But that made a lot of sense, in my opinion. And this one, unless you show him fighting with a Doombot on Earth, on Hell's Kitchen or something like that, I would rank him similar to Star Lord. Maybe like, I very much think that Charlie Cox deserves to play this character like full on Daredevil costume with the D's and everything in a movie because he's great and he's absolutely become that character. But maybe not in this one because I don't really think it fits,
Yeah.
especially with season 2. Born Again season 2 comes out like
Filming, yeah.
it comes out like in a month with the difference of the it just come out in March or April next year. I don't remember.
For what? Season 2?
Yeah, season 2.
I don't think we have a date yet. But I would assume it's probably like maybe right before Doomsday. I would assume it's this time next year. But yeah, I think he's a lot more likely for Secret Wars, right? Like because I think Secret Wars is probably going to have a moment very similarly to like the portal scene in Endgame, where you bring in a lot of these characters that aren't narratively a part of the story, but they want them as part of their like a lineup of characters. And I could then see Daredevil kind of like splitting in that kind of spot along with maybe a lot of these newer like Phase 4-ish kind of characters. I think I don't see how he fits into Doomsday though.
When you're doing something this big, you maybe don't want to try to do something bigger than last time. Maybe you want to do something different. So I would have him fight in his small corner in Hell's Kitchen or something like that. He very much has to appear in one of the movies, the big ones in the Avengers movies. But maybe he doesn't need to meet absolutely everyone, especially if he still has a secret identity. So
sure. Similar to what they did with like X-Men 97 at the end, where you saw all the heroes fighting in their own neck of the woods kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because that is how the everyday Marvel heroes work, you know?
For sure. Wong. One of the like most consistent like Phase 4, Phase 5, I guess more so Phase 4 characters.
I don't know if an A, but I would definitely rank him high because it just makes sense for him to be in it. Maybe a lower A, if you like an A minus. You know what I mean? Like,
sure. I'm curious because like, you know, there was the rumors for like that like Strange Academy series that they wanted to do and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, I'm here for it. If you don't recast him like post Secret Wars and stuff like that, I like Wong a lot. I think he's such a fun like cameo character. I don't know if I like love Wong though. Like he's great, he's amazing, but like I just don't feel like we get enough like development with him for me to like need him back kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. I hope he's involved for sure.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel.
What was episode 5 of Daredevil that starts with the pan, the camera pans out and you see the Funko Pop. this exact Funko Pop that I have here and I had it when I was watching the episode, and it was what is the why is this so meta? It's I've talked about this with a lot of people. Like maybe you can see the statue that I have right there. She's probably my favorite character ever,
Wow.
honestly. It's one of those characters that became a favorite of mine by reading the comic books. Like I
Sure.
didn't. Oh, I'm not watching the movies because she's not in any movies. I'm not watching the show because she's not in any show. I just read the comics and she instantly became one of my favorites. I love everything that she represents, like the diversity, the being yourself. Everything you're looking for is already within you, and I think similar to Dreamer to Nia now, the casting is top notch. You can deny that. Iman Belani has definitely become synonymous with this character being a complete unknown, and she
Yeah.
made her the character hers. So yeah, I'm putting it in on S. I'm sorry.
I I think she is my currently favorite MCU character at the moment in terms of like no, like not even like with like an asterisk. I think she is that actress is so fun and so palpable, and again, like I feel like this is going to open a conversation we might have in a little bit of like, what are the Young Avengers in this project? Because I feel like if you have her in here, there's other characters I'd be like, well, where are they? And where are
you
they? And
you
where are
you
they?
did
Kind of thing.
mention Strange Academy.
Mm-hmm.
I similar to Miss Marvel. I very much liked Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. I think she was very good, but I wouldn't really want to waste her in like Harry Potter Wong Academy stuff. I think she belongs with the Young Avengers.
I agree.
You can call them champions, you can call them young Avengers. They're mixing and matching stuff because if we were going about the strictly comic book champions, only Miss Marvel would be on the team and everyone
Sure.
else will be like a young Avenger. So these new characters, man, that you introduce in this post Endgame, I think they're great. And even if people don't love the show or the movie that they are in, they very much like the characters, and the actors are there. They are available. They are young, and they need to come back to us. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we could just talk about America now then, since like you've mentioned her. Like,
yeah,
Amer- I think America will be in this. I do. I think especially with their power set, like it's tough because it could be Secret Wars as well. But I think she is involved in these two-part movies. I would be very shocked if she's not involved in some way, shape, or form. Like when you have a character that can literally open up the multiverse, it would seem
yeah.
like a missed
I
opportunity.
was talking about that earlier. Like she has so much power within her. I don't want her to be, oh, she's another student in Wong Academy. No, that's boring. I want her to be like this rebellious character that she's in the comic books, and she kind of doesn't play by the rules. So I maybe will put her in A, and
I would agree.
Strange kind of goes in S. Doctor Strange kind of goes in S because he's one of the main characters.
He It'd be weird if he wasn't in this movie, right? He's been him, Spider Man, and Wanda are like the like front runners of Phase 4 for me, and then somewhat 5, right? Like it would be strange pun intended, like if he wasn't involved. And like he had said some weird things where like he like started out being like, I'm not in this project actually, and he's like, sorry guys, I was wrong. I am in this project, and then we didn't see him on the chair, so it's been like this back and forth, is he, isn't he, kind of thing. Um, but I agree. I think Strange needs to be in there, even if he isn't like one of the main Avengers in the movie. Like I think he needs to be involved in some way,
Yeah,
shape, or
I
form.
think the first movie I did like it, but it didn't blow my mind or anything. But the second one, with everything that happened in the previous Avengers movie, I think it elevated the character and the story that they told in so many levels, and I very much like Multiverse of Madness. So it would be very weird if Doctor Strange, master of the multiverse, who's traveling around the dark dimension trying to solve everything, is not in the big team up movie. when he and Wong know everyone and know everything
Yeah,
that's going on. If even anyone could see the threat coming, would be Wong and Strange and sorcerers and everyone who has magic. Maybe I don't know.
yeah, I agree. Hawkeye.
I for me similar to Ant-Man, Scott Lang, Ant-Man, because you kind of have this younger version of them being introduced in the more recent appearance, but it they didn't make him so. Oh, Scott Lang is not going to be Ant-Man again. Hawkeye is retiring. He's tried to retire from the superhero stuff since he started,
Yeah,
but I still want to see him in this
I
movie.
I think it would be a
Maybe a low A, but still an
okay.
A. Yeah, I don't know what we were going for, but
I I kind of really want him in here because I think he keeps getting shafted from like every Avengers movie, right? Like Avengers 1, he's like mind controlled the whole time. He's a big part of Avengers 2. He's great in Avengers 2, but then he's not in Avengers 3 and he doesn't really have a lot to do in Avengers 4. And I think it'd be a damn shame if they left him out of Avengers 5. Especially him being one of the OG Avengers left on the team. Like to me, it would still be a shame if Hulk, Hawkeye, Thor, um, are just not there. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they
yeah,
kind of have to be.
and that's the whole
Um,
point of Hawkeye. Like, he's fighting a bunch of super powerful beings with the bow and arrow. No, he's the guy who kind of has to be there. So I very much want him to still be there, even if the character itself doesn't want to be there.
sure. Um, Kate Bishop, I just kind of threw her like right alongside of
Yeah,
him. I feel like if one of them is there, I would like them both to be in there. I feel like they're kind of like a duo at this point. Similar to Miss Marvel, Kate Bishop's one of my new favorite MCU
yeah,
characters. I adore
yeah.
her. It's
She's easy an S for me as well. Like that, it's hilarious that the best post credit scene of one of the best post credit scene ever of Marvel. It's not really a post credit scene. It's just Kamala making fun of the original Iron Man post credit scene, but it's not the scene after the credits in that movie. It's just the ending. That's just how it ends. And having some of my favorite characters, uh, firstly from comics, then in TV shows, and make their cinematic debut in the Marvels was great. I really really enjoy that. So having them team up as they already established that they are doing, it would be great to see. So
I
yeah, Kate
agree.
Bishop, it's fantastic in that show. I have a shameless blog, but I have like a 27 video in my channel talking about how great Hawkeye is. I very much like the show. It's probably my favorite one out of the Disney Plus one.
It's really fun for sure. Okay, here's a huge one. Spider-Man. So we kind of talked about this a little bit in our like Spider-Man conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm kind of mixed. Like, yeah, I was very shocked when I didn't see a Tom Holland chair at first. But honestly, I think in a year where he's filming The Odyssey, where he's filming Spider-Man 4, I don't expect him to be there, to be honest. I
Yeah, I think the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day release in like 2 weeks apart from each other.
it's crazy. Yeah.
He's gonna have no time.
I,
He
I
only does movies with Zendaya because they are together, and if they didn't work together, they wouldn't see each other.
it I I'm kind of okay putting them in B. Like, obviously, I'll be hyped if he's there. I
Yeah,
love Spider-Man, but like, I I I, I kind of think they want to wait for a big moment, right? Because like, obviously, they're going to want the huge like Tom Holland, Robert Downey thing, and like that dynamic. But I think you should build up to that. I think you should make it a huge thing. Maybe that's how Spider-Man 4 ends or something. Like he sees like
maybe.
that Doctor Doom on the TV, and you like maybe you end it with like you go back to your like iconic like what the fuck moment that he had in the first two Spider-Man movies. I think it's a B for me. I do. I think it's kind of
Yeah,
on the same
same
star.
for me because I was theorizing with some friends. Maybe we could have something that is kind of weird but sort of makes sense. We can have Spider-Man, but not really a lot of Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Because no one knows who he is, and
Yes.
he could be in the mask all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that wouldn't really be a bad thing because
No.
it would be more comic book superheroes. You don't have to take off the mask all the time like they do in the live action
Yeah.
movies, and they never would do that in an animation or comic or something like that. So I think that we may get something like a cameo or some stuff like that,
Mm.
but we
Sure.
probably won't get Tom Holland's face around.
It'll be like ADR voiceover stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very small role. I could also see that. I could for sure see that as well. Moon Knight. This might be the first one where you have to like meet in the middle. I mean, do you like Moon Knight at all? The show?
I love
Okay.
Lila,
Oh.
but I don't really like Moon Knight. I think
Okay.
it's kind of controversial, but not really. I wouldn't call it a bad show, but it kind of don't make a lot of sense all the time. I can barely understand Oscar Isaac's accent because he's from Guatemala. He's also Latino, but they're making weird like British accent, and you have three personalities, and it ends on a massive cliffhanger that it would not get resolved if he just randomly shows up in a movie. Like you kind of need a season two or something that makes sense of that. Otherwise, I want Scarlet Scarab. I think Lila's superhero name is Scarlet Scarab, but I don't. I'm not feeling Moon Knight. Sorry. At the very least, he can go alongside Daredevil and Star-Lord.
I it's kind of my hot take on here that I really did not like Moon Knight. Like I get some hate from it in like the various circles that I talk in, but like I thought that was like the most boring show. I could not get into it at all. And I think in terms of like characters that are appearing, you're right. He's so self like isolated from everything that unless there happened to be like a huge portal thing or something, it would make no sense why he's there, why he's fighting
Yeah, like
alongside like
he doesn't know anyone. It makes like as I was saying, I very much like the female lead of the show, as I mentioned along all along the live stream.
mm-hmm.
Because if you there's a version of that show where she's the main character and everything makes more sense.
Mm.
Because the show starts where the story has already begun. So I very much would like to see her in a team up movie rather than Moon Knight, honestly.
Sure. Sorry, I just saw it. DH1. Apparently, there's like a new Superman sneak peek that they posted.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
don't
gonna
know
watch that
if
here,
it's
but
official or out. I think someone recorded with their phone or something like
I
that.
James gonna officially put it out
Oh,
this
okay.
evening. But
Okay.
we're not gonna watch that here, but I'll watch it once the stream is over. And
You can
stuff like
save
that.
it for my next pipeline, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of hoping I'll see it in front of Minecraft. I'm hoping I'll catch that then.
Okay.
But Valkyrie, man, Valkyrie, I'll say it, I think she's been one of the most like underutilized characters of Phase 4.
I like the character because I'm a fan of the. She has nothing to do with Captain Marvel, but she shows up in the Marvel, and I like the Marvel, so
That's
I
true.
like her. But
Sure.
it does feel like, oh, she's friends with Brie Larson, and they play Fortnite, so she shows up in the movie. It kind of feels like that. So I very much think that Valkyrie is someone who makes sense to having a big team up
Mm,
fight movie. Maybe not much story wise, but in terms of who you want in your team, I would definitely pick Valkyrie and if we're
okay.
doing a fight. You know, so maybe lowerish B, or I don't know what you would put her in.
Yeah, it sucks because like I love Tessa Thompson. I think she's fantastic. I love Valkyrie. I haven't loved how they treated her. Like I very much disliked her in Thor, Love and Thunder. Like, I thought she
Yeah.
wasn't treated well there. I love the idea of a like Valkyrie Brie Larson like relationship of some sort, but it was one of those situations that felt like they were telling us it's a thing and not showing it. It's just like, hey guys, we're doing the thing, and it's like, cool. Want to show us context to that? No, all
Yeah,
right.
it's like one of those things when they said, "Oh, this character was LGBT. The show ended 20 years ago." Okay.
Yes, it's them wanting to get credit for being diverse without having to be diverse
Yeah.
and like hurting their viewerships and stuff like that. It's like, well, I don't know. I'd like to see it. To me, I'm almost leaning towards a C, not because I don't like Valkyrie, but I don't see a role for her in this movie personally. Like, maybe she can join in with Thor, as Thor was already announced. Same with Captain Marvel, I guess. I'm okay with a B. I'm okay with a B. I think she's
Yeah.
probably more likely than like a Star Lord or a Daredevil.
Hmm.
That's fair. Wasp. So I think Wasp is really unlikely. I think Wasp is unlikely mainly because this actress has said, "Hey, I'm done." She's done with acting. She said some very controversial things in the last couple years. I haven't loved what they did with the Wasp character. I don't, outside of like that first Ant-Man movie, I don't know if they've done anything like
I
incredibly.
actually do like Ant-Man and the Wasp a lot because I think that's
Mm.
a fun
It's fun, yeah.
uh, team up movie
Turn
where
your
you
brain off,
see
yeah.
Ant-Man and Wasp teaming up and doing this thing that they're known for doing,
Mm.
but it's kind of a waste. I think
Yeah,
she's not a bad actress. It's not
she's
even a bad
there.
character, but she should be everyone's favorite because the Wasp. If everyone who has seen Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes or read
Yes.
a comic book, she named the Avengers. She was the only girl there for in the first lineup. She should be a fan favorite, and she's not because they
Yeah.
have given her nothing to work with. So it's a character that I really like outside of the MCU, but in the MCU, she's kind of just there, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like Hope is technically an original character, right? Like normally it's like
Yeah,
Janet in the comics, but they needed him to have his own Wasp, so they made Hope, right? And it does suck because like we've seen such a great track record of like great original characters. If it's Coulson or Harley Quinn or Dreamer and stuff like that, like we talked about. And Hope is just, I don't know. To me, I think she's just there. I'm kind of okay putting her in like a D, not because I dislike her, but like I also don't need her in this movie personally.
yeah. She may show up, maybe not because she quit acting, as you said.
Yeah,
But it wouldn't surprise me because Ant-Man is there, and Paul Rudd kind of goes hand in hand with his core characters. We'll
yeah.
see. So I don't know.
I think at most maybe she has like a little tiny cameo at the start, right? Like if Ant-Man is one of the core members of the Avengers in this, maybe she has a little cameo. Maybe his daughter has a cameo too, which I completely forgot her on my tier list here. But
Oh,
yeah, I don't know. I don't need her.
yeah. Well,
Um,
mention I very much like Catherine Newton. I think she's a
Great
when
actress. Yeah,
when your worst movie in your career is your MCU movie, you know you're a great actor.
she's fantastic. Yeah,
And she in Quantumania, it wasn't her fault. I don't think that movie
mm-mm.
was. That's probably everyone's worst movie. Everyone who worked in that. But I think she's very good outside of the MCU. I would very much like to see her interact with Kate Bishop and Kamala
Agreed. Yeah, I'm very excited for
and everyone
Champions
else.
because
Yeah, yeah,
like I'm excited for her to be able to prove herself in that role because she has got so much hate in that role, and I'm excited for her to be like, yeah, I'm actually good as this character, not just what you saw in Quantumania. Um, Let me move Scarlet Witch up. We can talk about them both at once. Scarlet Witch and Vision, or White Vision, I should say. Now, Elizabeth Olsen she's on the record saying she's not in the movie. But is this a Andrew Garfield situation, or is she really not in the project?
We don't know because they have
Yeah,
not started shooting.
sure.
Everything that happens with Andrew Garfield is so unlucky because he always has like this big Oscars movie right at the same time they are doing a Spider-Man movie, so everyone asks him about Spider-Man and not about his new project, which is kind of a shame if you think about it. But I don't think we are going to get Scarlet Witch ambition here. I think Secret Wars, yes, but not Doomsday. I would like to see them, of course, because they are great characters, and it's kind of like you only get hints of them, and they become like the most interesting characters in the show in WandaVision. But you have to finish that trilogy of
Hmm.
television first. So them two, I don't know when does Vision Quest come out, but I wouldn't put them very high. I don't know about you.
That's yeah, like that's a really good point as well because like Vision Quest is filming right now, right? Probably
Mhm.
going to be filming very similarly to Doomsday. So it's like any
Yeah.
MCU character that might be in that show might not be in this show. So maybe not a White Vision. I don't know who's all involved with that, but like if a Billy and Tommy are involved in that, they'll probably not be in there. Does that mean there's a chance Agatha could be involved somehow? Like is that why she's not in Dooms? There's
I
all of
think
those
the
kind of
shows
things.
are very interesting because they have like this ongoing storyline, but they are very self-contained. The plot is literally about them being sequestered.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think we're they are going to
Mm,
save them for like a big thing when probably Vision Quest is over.
yeah, I think they're probably in Dooms. Okay. Here's what I'll say for Secret Wars. I should say. I think Scarlet Witch appearing will depend on if they plan on recasting her, right? Like if they want a new Scarlet Witch post Secret Wars, then she will appear because they're going to want her big return. They're going to want her one last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if not, I think they'll just wait and just have her return, but this time as a mutant and all that fun stuff. So I'm thinking probably C for both. I think C is
Yeah,
probably.
yeah.
I think it's unlikely, but like not implausible.
Mm-hmm.
She-Hulk. I really want She-Hulk in here. I
Yeah,
do.
I
I
even if you hate or love that show, like I did not watch 9 hours of She-Hulk just for her to never show up again. That makes no sense. Like I need her back because she's a great character, and I did not love the show the first time around, but I
mm,
did rewatch it, and I think it improved over time. So I think it's maybe it's not the best to have like a sitcom of the in the MCU because the whole point of this universe, like everything that happened, is super important. So that kind of encapsulates people complaining about, oh, this doesn't line up with that, and I don't need to watch this to get what's going on in the next project. But She-Hulk, the character and the actors, I think that's definitely a get. Like it's I'm surprised that they even got her for the role because maybe not the most popular actors in the world, but Tatiana Maslany is like I don't know if you can keep her in the bench for long. She may want to do other projects, but that's what I'm
I
talking about.
I really I'm someone who personally really enjoyed She-Hulk as a show.
Mhm.
Like I had a lot of fun with that. Is it perfect? No, there's some
No.
criticisms, but I love it for all the reasons people dislike it. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think her and another character we'll talk about in a couple spaces here, I think need to come back just at least to combat the terrible people on the internet. You know what I mean? Um, and I think, unfortunately, she's never getting a second season due to budget and stuff like that. So I think Avengers is one of the rare places I think she could show up. So I think for that reason alone, I almost want to put her in S, just because it's like, if not here, then where? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it that kind of makes me mad in regards to Captain America Brave New World
I would have
even
liked her in
more
that. Yeah.
because it's like, oh, we are having a movie with every side character of the whole lore, but we're not even going to mention She-Hulk.
It
Okay.
would have been cool if she could have
Yeah.
I'm okay. Could you settle for like an A?
Just because it looks great, I definitely would put her alongside Bruce. Because I want that team up in a big movie.
Me too. I still want a Hulk movie again, man. It breaks my heart. Like I hopefully they're somehow they can make a deal, but like I want a movie with like Bruce and She Hulk and his son and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it was different. It was difficult because the whole character changed, not only actors, but changed so much. Like it's not like the typical Hulk, the Hulk smash, and they make it the smart Hulk and stuff. But everything in regards to She-Hulk, I'm all in because that is a great adaptation. Even if for people who hated that show, that is literally the comic.
Agreed. Rhodey. Um, I'm gonna say this up front. To me, and we can obviously like disagree. He's an S for me in terms of like characters I think need to show up. You know what I mean? Like Rhodey, his movie's probably never coming out. We left him in Secret Wars in such a even if you don't like that show because I'm sorry, Secret Invasion. Like I do not like that show, but I think where we left him is very very interesting.
Yeah, the problem about Secret Wars is like it's such a disservice to the character. Like
Yeah,
every character dies in an episode, and that's the whole show.
yeah.
And you have the president, and there's not a scroll that says, "Oh, I should impersonate the president." No, they don't do that. That just doesn't work. And Rhodey is so weirdly treated in that show,
Yeah.
and he deserves more respect. Maybe not an S for me, but
Okay.
I'm fully convinced. Like he deserves to get some love because he's like until we get Ironheart, who I'm seeing right there, he's like the only representation of Iron Man if he's still doing his superhero stuff to this day. I think Armor Wars could have been maybe a spotlight of Marvel if it's not already canceled. Maybe I don't know.
I really want that show to come out, or that movie to come out, because I think that was such an especially like again like what they did in Secret Wars. I'm sorry, Secret Invasion sucked, but like just in terms of like story potential, I think that's so fascinating. Someone who's lost all this years of his life, who's someone who's dealing with that much amount of trauma, and especially when your villain is the face of Tony Stark. If we're not going to have Spider-Man in here, you're going to have someone who is very close to him. Yeah. And I think that's going to be Rhodey. And I hope they focus in on him. Because if not, if we're just basing it off of the characters that were announced, who's going to have that reaction? Thor? Maybe. Scott? I guess, like they need someone that loved Tony.
It's funny that you mentioned Scott in that regard because I just remember in Civil War when they were in the sales and Tony said, "Who are you?" They didn't even know each other. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I think he's one of the most important in terms of like the narrative of the story and stuff like that. Ironheart. So Ironheart's tough to rank here, I think, because I really enjoyed her in Wakanda Forever. I thought she was a fun start, but we still don't technically know the character that well. We are yet to get her show. We should be getting it in a couple months here, which I'm excited for. But it is hard to rank in terms of like what we could expect her to add to the table since we don't really know her too well yet.
Especially when it comes to What If, because I guarantee you that season 3.
Yeah.
You know what I'm about to say, right? Like
it was season 3 should have come out after Ironheart. Yeah, there was 2 episodes that felt like it was supposed to be after it.
I really want to watch this show because I'm all in for a coming of age younger female character. I did like her in Wakanda Forever. I think the actress was great with very good casting. I don't think I kind of rank her that much higher than maybe the other young Avengers. Maybe she can go in a B or low A, similar to the characters that are from the Black Panther lore, right?
Yeah, I was thinking B2. I'm have no issue with her showing up. I have no problem with it, but also I'm not claiming for it either. Like I'm not like, man, where's Ironheart? But again, like you make a good point. Like we put Miss Marvel in S, we put Kate Bishop in S, we put America in A. If we're doing the Young Avengers, she will probably be part of that team. So I would assume she slots in right among her other
Hmm.
teammates on that team, kind of thing. Captain Marvel.
Oof.
I I think
I
she's kind of important too.
Yeah, I honestly I would put her in S
I would
because
too.
she's such a cosmic level character that she deserves every single respect that we talked about previously with She-Hulk or even Rhodey, as War
Yeah.
Machine. Because I definitely started backwards. Like I liked the first Captain Marvel movie, but
Hmm.
once I became such a big Miss Marvel fan, and
Yeah.
the character of Miss Marvel was a big fan of Carol, that kind of made kind of like when I played Lego Indiana Jones before watching the movies, or when I watched when I watched Descendants before watching the original Disney classic or something like that.
Sure.
I very much like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I think she's great casting. I think the Marvels is it's a great team up, fun movie that mixes and matches a bunch of some of my favorite characters that have become my favorite characters thanks to the comic books, thanks to the movies and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I think like the hero of the the cosmic side of the MCU is an S, easy for me. And we have Kelsey Grammer. We have the Beast, the Beast that shows up in the post credit scene on the Marvels. So I think um, Monica and her mom Maria should also be pretty high up
I,
as well.
I couldn't agree less. I think they're both, and like in terms of importance and characters who need to be there, I think all three are S.
Yeah, like I very much like and love the characters that are in S. Maybe I don't love what's her name, Binary,
Yeah.
because she's not a character. She has a
Yeah.
cameo, but she has to show up because maybe she's not from the X-Men thing. I don't think she's a mutant. Maybe in that Earth, but maybe she was like visiting based, and she's like the Captain Marvel. She's like on the Avengers of that universe,
Mm.
and I would very much like. The Marvels teaming up once again, and Monica fighting side to side with her mom from another Earth. So that would make
I,
a lot of sense, and they deserve this.
yeah. No. I fully agree. I think when we see the X-Men team, they will be on that current X-Men team, and I think that's smart because I think relatively all of those X-Men characters are going to be like quote unquote new characters, like played by people we know, but it's going to be technically a new team
Yeah,
we haven't
yeah,
seen before. So I think having a character we've already spent a couple of movies with from an audience perspective is very smart because they can be like, oh, I knew her from WandaVision. That's a character that I can kind of relate with very quickly. You don't have to
yeah,
make all new characters.
yeah. And
So
and and for me, that's my one thing is the Marvels, but we do have the Trinity, which is like the cosmic intergalactic stuff with Captain Marvel, and we have the magic stuff with Doctor
Strange
Strange, and Sam Wilson or Captain America should be the
as
one that
grounded. Yeah.
handles the grounded stuff. You have those three sides right there. So definitely missing the Doctor Strange and Captain Marvel. Those are probably the biggest one that I
Hmm.
need in this movie.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like I've always said that. Like it should have been Captain America, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel as like your new trinity of the MCU. I would agree with that. Taskmaster. the only Thunderbolt that was not announced in the chair ceremony, if
Probably
you will.
the funniest character that we are going to rank here.
I I'll be honest. I think Taskmaster is my out of everything in the MCU. I think it's the most disappointing thing in the MCU. Not for the reason the people internet like to say it is, right? Like I have no problem with it being a woman. That's fine. I just never felt like they truly did that character justice in terms of like it's their skill and what they can do and how cool of a villain they are. Um, and I was really hoping that Thunderbolts would change my mind. I was hoping I would come out of that movie and be like, they fixed him. This is crazy. This is whatever. I think they're dead. I think they die in Thunderbolts, unfortunately. Would you agree with that?
Yes, most likely. It's honestly a character that I like to pretend I'm the biggest fan of because
Sure.
I very much like the Black Widow movie. I think that was a breath of fresh air after a year with no Marvel content, and I think the character of Antonia works very well because it's not like your Deathstroke or some generic mercenary like can be that in the comics maybe she's like a collateral damage. What happened to her was fault of Natasha. So I think you can do something very interesting, and it works in the Black Widow movie. But I don't think it works very much outside of that context and that story that I very much like. So th- she's going to die in Thunderbolts.
I
I'm not sure if the actress is even going to show up in anything. Her face is going to appear in that movie. Maybe she just blows up and that's it.
yeah, I do hope Thunderbolts is one of those things that they can like retcon post Secret Wars. Even if you keep that actress, that's fine for me. Just like
Yeah.
make it more skill based because I was never a huge fan of the like technology thing. Like I feel like that takes a lot of the like the coolness away from that character personally. But it does suck that we kind of know she's most likely not going to make it to the end of Thunderbolts. Like that could have been at least fun to like not know until we get to the cinema. But oh well. This is an interesting one, and we're heading towards the end of this here, so not too many left. Nick Fury is a big one that I heard a lot of people being like, "Huh, no Nick Fury in the announcement." I was thinking about this as we were like as I was preparing the tier list. I don't need him in this movie personally. I don't know what role he could possibly play, to be honest.
Yeah, in the last two Avengers movies, well, even in Age of Ultron, where he does more stuff, maybe, he's the guy that brings the Avengers together in that original movie. But I don't think he goes beyond that. Similar to Hawkeye, he feels like he wants to retire every time he appears on screen.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, as I said, I really like the Marvels. Secret Invasion kind of messed everything up because you have this really
Yeah.
weird show which is very serious, and he has a wife there, and they go up in the satellite of the Saber, I think that it was called, and I don't know how that makes sense in regards to the movie, which is super like very much fun and a comedic role with the Flurkin cats and everything in that. So maybe you can have him in like a cameo at the end or beginning, or looking at a bunch of screens, turning around, as Tony Stark said. But yeah, in Infinity War he shows up at the end, and in Endgame he shows up at the end also. So maybe you don't need the guy.
Yeah, I think that they've been really trying to find out what to do with him because like let's just like look back for a second. Like he was very important phase 1, phase 2, he was great character, and I think ever since then they've been really trying to figure out what they wanted, right? He was very absent from phase 3 outside of a little cameo in the 2 Avengers movies. They tried to do him in phase 4, like he was like they did the whole fake out thing in Far From Home. They did Secret Invasion. They did the Marvels. I just feel like they've been struggling to like find his spots to make him
Yeah.
important again. And I'm almost at a point where I'm like, I'm kind of okay if maybe you retire him for a little while. Like, give him a break. Sam is obviously a very big actor. He has a lot of roles that he does every year. I don't need him here, unfortunately. I think to me, I think he's a C. I think he's along like Daredevil and
Yeah,
Scarlet
yeah.
Witch and stuff. Okay. Want to answer this comment really quickly. People are like, oh, she dies because she isn't in Doomsday. I don't think she dies. Then again, she could be. But like Clint Barton wasn't actually in Infinity War, and then he died. That is true. That is true. It's not guaranteed. But she's also not in the trailers very much. She's like she has like 2 shots in the trailer, and it seems like they're both from the same scene. So I maybe it's a fake out. Maybe she does live. That'd be a twist, but I personally don't think so. Okay, we're heading towards the end here. Agatha and Billy. I kind of placed those two together. We kind of talked about this a little bit already, but
yeah, I think what we're trying to do here is say who would make the most sense to show up in regards of where are they now in the MCU, and I think similar to Wanda and Vision, they are also in their own quest.
yeah,
Literally called Vision Quest, the trilogy of these
yeah,
these shows. So I'm maybe not gonna rank them very high, but I can rank Billy a little bit higher, maybe with Ironheart, because
yeah,
he is that actor
yeah,
is great. He's definitely a get like, oh, he's in Heartstopper. We got him right before he was going to be more famous. Now he's in Marvel, and they probably very proud, very happy about that, because I think Joe Locke is great in that show, and he will 100% be one of the faces of the Young Avengers. As he is in the comics, he had a great episode and development in that show, and
sure.
I would be surprised if they waste such a young and talented man.
Yeah, I think you're right about Ironheart, where it's like it depends if the Young Avengers are formed by the time we get to Doomsday, because if they are, then yeah, he'll be in it. If not, there's not much of a connecting tissue between everything, right? Especially if Scarlet Witch isn't in it, if Agatha isn't in it, if Vision isn't in it, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen in Vision Quest. Like I've pitched on here a couple times. Like maybe the Young Avengers are formed in Vision Quest. Like maybe that's how you end that show. It's like a little backdoor pilot of sorts for your champions or your Young Avengers. But like it's where we currently have left those characters, it would be very hard for both of them to appear in Avengers, I feel like. But we'll see what Vision Quest does for sure. All right, final couple here. Halle Bailey as Storm, and again, we had already talked about Jean. We talked about like maybe why she isn't. She was one of the biggest like X-Men announcements where it's like, okay, all these casts are returning. Where is Storm? Where is Jean? Where is Rogue? Do you think Storm is in this movie? Do you think they're hiding it?
I don't know, man. I'm not very. I'm not. I as I said before, it's weird not to have them. Like,
Yeah.
she's not in like a romantic relationship with any of the main X-Men,
Yeah.
like the other ones, but she's arguably as popular as them. In the animated show, in the original one, I think she has
Yeah.
a great dynamic, especially with Wolverine and everyone else, and she has one with Forge in X-Men '97. So if we didn't have those X-Men chairs revealed already, I would put her very low in Doomsday and very high, maybe on Secret Wars. But I guess I'm going to go a little bit in the middle.
Okay.
Maybe a low A, a high B. I don't know if you are with me, but
I really hope a Storm is on that team. I think the only thing that's holding me back is I'm wondering maybe she doesn't want to, right? Because she had a lot of beef with what happened to her character in those original movies. They had openly lied to her about having more stuff in those movies that they were never going to give her. And like from my understanding, like that she was very upset with the whole situation. Um, if they can't get her back though, I want them to have a Storm at least. Like even if you have to cast someone else as that character for their team, I want there to be a Storm on the team. Like in that original Fox like continuity, that like trilogy, that main trilogy ends with her like leading the X-Men. Like she's in charge of like everything and stuff like that. So were you saying B? I think B is probably a good spot if you were
Yeah,
saying B.
yeah,
But like top of B maybe.
probably. I think the a team up with the Marvels would be very good if you actually have the female X-Men. Like just imagine like maybe Storm teaming up with Monica or
Mm-hmm.
Rogue teaming up with Captain Marvel, like with the history they have in the
Oh
comics. I think
sure.
that would
Yeah.
be interesting to see.
Be very cool. Deadpool and Wolverine. I kind of thought they were going to announce them. Like I retrospectively, I'm glad maybe they didn't, and we could talk about that here in a second. But like
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be one of like the huge names. People are going to be like, holy shit, they're in Avengers kind of thing.
When they put the music, the Deadpool and Wolverine music, and
Yeah,
then just
yeah.
and you get Channing Tatum as Gambit. That's hilarious. That's honestly hilarious if you think about it. But again, it's strange not to have them. You would assume they will be in it. I guess they will be on Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you had a movie, if you just had this big hit with Deadpool and Wolverine, or the return of Hugh Jackman as this character, maybe you do save that one for Secret Wars,
I
because you
agree.
can have the X Men team, the X Men team, without Wolverine, because this version of Wolverine already only knows the Deadpool and is kind of doing his own thing. Maybe you
Yeah.
have Gambit on the team, despite them being from the same movie, of course. But you can save Wolverine for later, so I wouldn't put him very high. Not even Deadpool, because I think they're going to go a little bit more serious with this movie.
Mm.
I don't know if Gambit is gonna be a comic relief or not. Maybe he will. We'll see. But I will put them alongside Storm, maybe even lower, because I do want them in this movie. Yes, but I think they make so much more sense for Secret Wars in like a big entrance. You know?
I agree. I full heartedly agree. I think because like when they were announcing all those X Men's at first, I was like, yeah, Hugh Jackman's clearly going to be towards the end. They want that his thing. But looking back on it, I think that's really smart because that was one of the biggest criticisms of those original X-Men movies is that they weren't the X-Men, they were just Wolverine movies. So I think it's really smart spending Doomsday, have them be the actual team, have like let James Marsden like soar as Cyclops first, let him lead the team, and then we see them meet Hugh Jackman's thing in Secret Wars,
Mm.
and yes, have Deadpool be in Secret Wars. You don't want it to overshadow like Deadpool is such like a main character syndrome where he takes up all the spotlight. It's going to be hard to put him in Doomsday and not have him take up all the screen time. So I'm almost saying like D. I mean, I'm sorry, C. I'm thinking like a high C maybe for me.
I'll be okay with C. Probably the first ones in C.
I would
I'll
agree with
put
that.
them above the other ones. They're there.
I would agree with that. The internals. I kind of just threw them all in one little bracket. I didn't want to rank all of them individually. Um, I feel so bad for those guys. I do. I don't think they're in here. I really don't.
Yeah, but it's if I already said like, oh, I'm going to watch 9 hours of She-Hulk and she's not gonna show up ever again. I think it's similar to that, but it's a movie and it's shorter. If you didn't like it, you did not waste a lot of time,
Hmm.
maybe. I think it is a good movie. It's not a movie that I like a lot, because
I
it
agree.
doesn't feel very rewatchable. Like it's dense and it's slow and it's very its own thing. I think it's good, like a movie, but it's not one of my favorite personally. So maybe cannot rank them very high. However, they are very powerful characters, and you can have interesting team ups with them, but they are still with their own separate things. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm in the middle. It does have a lot of setup with those post credit scenes, no?
it it's tough because like this isn't like if I want them to be here. Like
Yeah,
if that was the case, I'd put them like A or B.
yeah.
This is like, do I think they will be in here? And I personally do not. I think that's just a giant can of worms that they do not want to open up right now. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of lore. We don't have a lot of time to set those things up. That there's no connective tissue between any of these characters. I'm thinking like really low C to almost D in terms of like possibility, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad with a D. Like,
I'm gonna do
honestly,
high D because I feel bad because I
yeah.
want them to get something, even if it's like an animated show or something like that. Like I want them to be given something to at least finish their stories to wrap up some of those cliffhangers. Um,
I think they will show up in something else
mhm,
eventually, but
hopefully,
mm, I don't think they have big main character energy anymore. And there's so
unfortunately,
many of them. Like I
yeah,
feel like that's one thing I don't like about that movie is that you have so many characters and they die just because there's so many of them.
yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like we already know where this one's gonna go because of where the first one is, but I put Punisher on here.
Yeah.
I honestly, actually, I'd probably put him lower than Daredevil.
I put him between Daredevil and Vision, maybe. Like he, if you agree, I don't know. But
Okay, yeah, it's tough because like Daredevil is at least like a quote unquote hero, right? Like Daredevil
yeah,
is like I can see a word where he shows up and he helps fight, right? Punisher is so different than every other hero on this list for the most part, right? Like he is a like clarified terrorist. I have a hard time believing Sam is like, "Come on, Frank, let's go fight Doom or whatever." You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely no one knows him, and if they do, they would not like him.
yeah, it'd be hard to like I think like weave him into like the plot of the story. Maybe Secret Wars, possibly, but even then, I'd be like, "What's Frank doing here?" You know, like what is he? I don't know.
Maybe that one scene where like it's Bucky with Rocket, and they're shooting a bunch of stuff. Maybe he has like some sort of thing when he's fighting in the background or something like
Hmm.
that. But I do not see him interacting with anyone, which is a shame because John it's a great
John
actor
Bernthal.
and
Yeah.
he probably knows a lot of these people by working with them in other movies or
Hmm.
shows. Like I think he was in the Bear. And it's the guy who's going to be the Thing. He was also in the Punisher. He was the Micro. So yeah, it would be very interesting to see him interact with everyone. But I don't think it makes sense story wise. So yeah, I would rank him right where he is.
I would agree. And then our final two here, we finally made it to the end. So sorry for keeping you for 2 hours.
No, it's
Um,
great.
we have Toby and Andrew Garfield's versions of Spider-Man. Now we ranked Tom's version like middle of the road. I do kind of love the idea, and this isn't like not necessarily likely, but there's a part of me that kind of loves the idea of like Kevin Feige being like, listen, Tom Holland's busy. One of y'all want to hop in here for a movie? You know, like he's got Odyssey. Yo, Andrew Garfield, do you want to film for like 2 hours or something? I don't think that's very likely.
Nah, I kind of feel bad ranking them above him. I would put them below him, maybe
Okay.
like a low B or high C. I actually would put him maybe with because it would be insane to see like Tobey Maguire interacting with Hugh Jackman Wolverine.
Yeah.
That would be a crazy crossover, and maybe even Andrew Garfield with Deadpool. I think those actors will very
Yeah.
much work together.
for some reason, I almost feel like Andrew Garfield's slightly more likely than Tom or for Toby. I don't know why. I feel like Andrew was just like way more I'd say Toby isn't willing because I bet he is, and I think they're both in Secret Wars for sure, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's personally more likely than Deadpool and Wolverine, but not incredibly likely, if that makes sense.
That's like actor wise, because Tobey Maguire is a great actor and all, but he's not very active often. I think he was in like Babylon for like a minute or two, something like that. When Andrew Garfield has been nominated for an Oscar like at least 2 times, and he always
Very
coming out
active.
with great movies. So I think he's I mean the thing I mentioned before, the Spider-Man movies, the Amazing Spider-Man, are probably Andrew Garfield's worst movies, honestly. But he does love the character, and he would
loves
very
it,
much
yeah.
return once again.
I would agree with that. Now that we have our full list here, is there anyone you would like to move around? Think that maybe needs to go up or down now that we have the full scope, the full scope of everything?
When we started, I thought yes, but now that I see the bigger picture, I agree. I agree with what we have here, so I wouldn't really change anything else. I don't know about you.
The only one that I think is bothering me just a little bit is Rhodey. I think I'm still kind of thinking that's an S tier for me, but I'm okay keeping it an A if you're still like pretty positive on the A. And yeah, that's about it. Like, I could see. I'm kind of also almost thinking maybe Star-Lord moving up just a little bit, because I think
okay.
I feel like he's like I do think he's more likely than most of the people in C right now. Like he's been like campaigning to come back. He said he's coming back soon. A lot of those kind of things, but also like if he's not in it, I'm not like where's Chris Pratt kind of thing. Yeah, I think this is pretty good.
Yeah, solid.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, thank you so much for being here. This was an absolute blast. Let me get rid of this. An absolute blast. Thank you for doing the show. Where can people find you?
Well, as you quoted my YouTube channel earlier, thank you for tagging that. Yeah, I do review the new show or superhero movie when it comes out, but I would very much like to start doing more video essays that people do. They go very in depth. I have done a couple about Hawkeye, as I mentioned, and Black Widow, which are shows and movies I very much like. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. Everything is in Spanish, of course, but I do tweet in English when I interact with you on from every now and then. So my Twitter is also there. So yeah, there's that.
Absolutely, go check out his YouTube, which will be linked in the show title today. Just click his name; it'll take you right to his channel. Go check out his Twitter. Promo for me, like always. After the credits, we'll be back on Monday. We'll be talking more Daredevil Born Again. It'll be episode 7 this week. And next week's Pipeline, we will be talking about the Minecraft movie. Let's hope it's good. Let's hope there's something good to talk about. Yeah, again, thank you so much for being here. And I will
Thank you
see
for
everyone.
having me. I had a blast. You said 2+ hours. No, it went by so fast.
It did go by.
They
This
say
was
in Superman Lois.
absolutely. I would love to have you back at some point. Absolutely.
Thank you.
But yeah, without further ado, I will see you folks on the flip side.